Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Saturday Morning Comic Review. I'm your host, Dylan Wallace. Today, we got a great issue for you guys. As per usual, we are going to be reviewing 10 books. It is kind of a standard issue, if you will, but a bit of news. I think I mentioned before how DC and Marvel are going to be teaming up. That was like a couple days ago that was announced. In another crossover, it's going to be Superman and Spider-Man, which is pretty awesome. That's going to be coming out somewhere in the March timeframe. But something else happened of note, and that is that we are going to have the Supergirl movie is going to be released on June 26, 2026. Just watched the trailer. It looks awesome. I think my comments on it, though, are it looks very James Gunn, which is fine. James Gunn, I like his movies. I like the Guardians of the Galaxy. I enjoyed Superman a lot, but we just got to keep in mind that it is going to be likely a James Gunn style movie. The trailer indicates that way. It's going to be quippy. I can kind of tell you're going to have some sort of maybe buddy cop thing going on with whoever this character is that's with her. Maybe at first she's like kind of a loner and then realizes I got to take up this responsibility. It seems like it's going to be more of a coming of age girl that's party girl in her 20s, doesn't really care what she's doing, and then suddenly all this responsibility is on her back. I just hope they do something a little bit more interesting rather than kind of the prototypical stuff, but remains to be seen. And again, I do enjoy James Gunn, so overall just looking forward to it, and I felt like that was big enough and noteworthy to put into the show. So I think with that, we're going to have our standard usual format, right? We're going to go through the pulls that I got this week, the review, and then we'll talk about the pulls for next week. But the big thing that I have here is the previews as well. I mentioned it on last week's show, but I actually have it pulled up on the screen so you can see what I plan on pulling. So let's go ahead and jump to that real quick. For the audio folks just showing up on the screen on League, here's what I'm actually going to be pulling here. So I mentioned Daredevil issue number 1. I'm not going to pull the full series, but I do want to pull number 1 and just see how it is. If we like where the story's going, if we like the setup, maybe go ahead and pull it. Haven't read any Daredevil. Haven't watched the TV show as well. I've heard really good things from that. And Daredevil is some of people's like favorite comic book work, like period, the end. So I understand that there's a lot of fanfare around the character, and so I feel like I'm doing myself a disservice by not reading any Daredevil whatsoever. Figured it was a good time to jump in, so that's why I added that one to the polls. And then this one is going to be coming out in January. It was, oh, you know what? This is not for this poll week. I actually just remembered it's a totally different one. So I'm glad that I caught that. Here it is. It is Autumn Kingdom, The Wraithbound Queen, issue number 1. The covers look very similar. And as soon as I pulled it, I was like, that doesn't make any sense from the release point. But that's what it's going to be. Autumn Kingdom, Wraithbound Queen. So that is a continuation of this book of Autumn Kingdom where we have these two girls that pick up the sword that allows them to have these superpowers. They're trying to find their parents that have been stolen. So this is a continuation of that. That's what was in the previews. So those are the two books. It's just not it. It's it for now. At least that's what interested me. We'll see in January if there's any more or any less. I think right now I'm at a pretty decent equilibrium where with a good amount of books, anywhere between like 7 and 12, and that's been good for a while. And then we'll see as things start to fall off if there's opportunity in both the budget and the number of books that I'm reading to be picking up some more things in 2026. So I think with that we can go ahead and now jump into the pulls for this week. So we picked up 7 books in total, and before I do that, of course, I do like to go through the picks of the week as far as what League voted as the comic of the week. So I have that pulled up for the audio folks. I'll go ahead and read it off. Big week for Absolute Batman, as you could imagine. Number 1, as per usual, but number 1 very significantly. I think it was a couple of issues back where it was like number 1 by this overwhelming amount, probably around the annual time. So Absolute Batman number 15 with a 62% vote is huge. We'll get into my review of that one. Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 23, 6% of the vote. I picked that up as well. Assorted Crisis Events number 7, 3% of the vote. DCKO Wonder Woman versus Lobo, 2% of the vote. And then Transformers number 27, also 2% of the vote. And I have Transformers as well. So finally back to a cadence that I'm more used to, of having 3 books on the top 5, and then 2 of those 3 books that I have are number 1 and number 2, which is good. So do love to see that. So with that, let's go through the actual pulls here. I was off today, which is awesome. Love being off of work, but with that, I was able to pick up the books and then just immediately read them. So once the shop opened, I was there, came home, I read all 7, and I read the other 3 to round out our 10 earlier this week. So all these books are read, there are no backlogs, so I'll just go ahead and read through. We have Absolute Batman issue number 15, The Darkness number 1, Iron and Frost issue number 3, Minor Arcana number 12, Transformers number 27, Ultimate Spider-Man number 23, and then Ultimate Wolverine number 12. So that's what we pulled. All cover A's is what I got, and we'll be reviewing all of those. So I think with that, we can just go ahead and jump right into the reviews for this week. And so for the reviews here, that's the wrong button. For the reviews, as always, I'll read off everything so you can know what order that they're being reviewed in case you want to skip around. And then also with that, I'll just let you know up front, if you're brand new to the show, when I do the reviews, I do spoil everything, so just kind of keep that in mind. If you don't want spoilers, it's just not going to be the show for you. But I'll let you know what my score was in League, what the League score is. We'll catch you up on the story thus far. And then we'll also talk about whether or not this is a good one to jump into. And then for the folks on the YouTube, I'll go through some of the artwork so you can get a flavor of what the book looks like. So with that, we have Ultimate Wolverine issue number 12. Then we're going to do Absolute Batman number 15. Transformers number 27. Minor Arcana issue number 12. Iron and Frost issue number 3. Ultimate Spider-Man issue 23. The Darkness issue number 1. Batman and Robin issue number 19. Saga issue number 36. And then The Nice House on the Lake issue number 10, I want to say. Let's actually double check that. Yes, issue 10. So those are going to be the books for the week. Let's start off here with Ultimate Wolverine issue number 12. This book I enjoyed a lot. I feel like I've been higher on it than most of League has, and that trend kind of continues in reading this book as well. So I gave it a 4. League gave it a 3.8, a very action-heavy book, and basically the climax of like the entire arc thus far. It didn't have like a to be concluded or anything like that afterwards, but I think we are like truly in Ultimate Endgame upon the next book. So this basically feels like the conclusion of Ultimate Wolverine before we start tying everything together in the Ultimate Universe. Of course, Ultimate Universe, if you don't know, is kind of like the Bizarro universe of what's happening in the Marvel world. So it's not the same folks. They get powers at different times, and maybe different folks that have different powers. Maybe heroes that we know are not involved at all. Different origin stories. So it makes it a lot of fun. Here with the Ultimate Wolverine story thus far is Wolverine was turned into the Winter Soldier. So he was captured by Eurasia. And each one of these different regions throughout the world has like a leadership group, all reporting up to the Maker. The Maker's been locked away for 2 years, and it's at the point now where he's going to be released. So he's locked in like time. The Eurasia crew, it was Omega Red, Magic, and Colossus that rule over it. And they captured Wolverine, turned him into the Winter Soldier. So, used him to kill a whole bunch of people. He since was turned back, had to reconcile with everything that he's done. And then in the previous book, when they were trying to go on their big regroup and offensive and get ready and present themselves to the world, Colossus, Magic, and the lot, they sent this like crazy big explosive bomb, and it killed everyone except for Wolverine. So that was the end of issue 11. Issue 12, Wolverine is, caught up, and here we go. He's going to attack the Eurasian headquarters. So he gets there, and he sees Dr. Provovich, who was the first one to basically turn him into the Winter Soldier. When he gets there, though, Sentinel-1 shows up, and if you remember from many issues ago, they went to the Forge where all the Sentinels are being made, and he ran into Sentinel-1, and it's basically Cyclops that's like put into the midsection. So with the, kind of the crystal beams that he shoots out, hits Cyclops in the middle, connected to this huge Sentinel. Wolverine and Sentinel-1 start fighting. Wolverine's able to stab right in the neck and head area and kills Sentinel-1, kills the other major doctor there, and he takes Dr. Provich down to the basement, and from there, he's like, I know that there was someone talking in my head. Who's that person? And you need to free her. And that's Jean Grey, who he's referring to, which is the Phoenix. So they go down to the basement. She does release her, and she like falls to the ground, super weak and frail, and she was the one that was like kind of keeping all the other pet projects that they had out there, as these weapons, basically using her abilities to do so. And so after they release her, sure enough, Colossus and Magic show up. Omega Red is already dead from a couple issues ago, and Magic immediately, portals in and then stabs Dr. Provich through the chest, so she's dead and out, and now the fight begins between Wolverine, Magic, and Colossus. And it's mostly Colossus and Wolverine squaring off one-on-one. And so Colossus gets to the point where he has Wolverine down and out, and it doesn't look like Wolverine's going to be able to make it through. But then Jean, she is like, uses whatever power that she has left, and she uses her psychic ability, gets into Colossus's head, basically scrambles and fries his head to the point where it starts to combust and explodes. And he's definitely dead. So with that, Magic retreats. She goes back into her portal, and Jean and Wolverine are able to get away. So that's the end. That's the conclusion. I thought it was an awesome fight scene. I think the conclusion made a lot of sense there. I don't know why League was so far down on it. I was thinking between 4.5. I just landed on a 4. But the whole series for Ultimate Wolverine has been excellent. It's not really the time to jump in. The next one is going to be at Endgame. This is basically the conclusion of this arc. 13 is going to be totally fine. I think 11 would be okay, but you're going to see like this big old destruction and all these mutants have died, and you're going to wonder the backstory behind that. So I don't know. It's kind of a tough point to jump in, but I think 13 would be good. 12 is definitely not the right spot. So with that, let's go ahead and show off some of the artwork here so you can get a flavor for that. It's a lot of darker tones and hues, as has been the theme basically throughout this. But here you can see showing up in the lab, the fight with Sentinel-1 where he takes out the Cyclops head right there. We'll head down into the basement, and then here's where Jean is freed. Then Colossus and Magic, they show up. The Doctor's dead. The fight is on, and at the point now it looks like Colossus is going to take control. This is where his head catches on fire here, and then Magic, shortly after this, is when she leaves. So yeah, great book. I'm enjoying it. Going to continue through it. Like to see how it all works when we start doing the crossover, but it's been really good stuff for me. So Ultimate Wolverine, issue number 12. Again, I gave it a 4. League gave it a 3.8. Alrighty, the heavy hitter. Let's do it. Absolute Batman, issue number 15. This is the start of the Joker arc. For this one, I gave it a 4.5. League gave it a 4.6, so League definitely very high on it, and for good reason. This is brand new arc. Definitely a perfect time to jump into this, so keep that in mind. We've concluded with Bane. Bane is dead and gone, or at least, he's incapacitated, let's say. He's literally just a spinal cord and eyeballs at this point. And so now we're moving on to the Joker. And all of this book is just the origin story of this version of the Joker. So basically, it's an interesting kind of roles or reverse type deal where Bruce Wayne is not rich. He was like poor growing up, just working class guy. And Joker actually turns out that he does come from a lot of money. So the Joker now, is 5th in line, and it basically describes whole story of this line of generation where you had this kid who was telling jokes on the street. He turned that into like a little traveling circus, bought a theater. From the theater, became this big old media production company. He died off. The next one, they brought in some new technology. They had movies, this, that, and the other. And then basically like the Disney story is the way that they try to tell it, but buddy with like, Rockefeller, Carnegie, the whole lot, right? So very old money is where it's alluding to. But Bruce is like, I don't believe you. Like, that's the story, but like, what do you believe? And then he starts to tell a darker tale, right? And he starts to say, well, now they actually think that, he was, there's a dentist office right next to where he was telling jokes. So the jokes weren't actually all that funny. And there's like this laughing gas that he would like specifically let out into the streets so people would laugh. And so actually what he did is he would just turn people against each other. And then the whole family line, the whole generation would turn and play both sides, right? So they're feeding into whoever the good guy's hand in, and then the bad guy. They're giving money to the left and giving money to the right, and just sowing chaos into the world. And Batman's like, I still don't believe you. Like, what do you actually think? Who is this person? What do you truly believe? And then this is Alfred who's telling the whole story. Remember, Alfred is like a super special agent. We're in the absolute universe, so everything is like kind of bizarro world where we have different origins, things like that. So that's why it is a different origin overall. And what Pennyworth actually believes is that it's not 5 different generations of the Joker. It's all been the exact same Joker. And he's done a whole bunch of philanthropic things with like a bunch of children and orphanages and this, that, and the other. He's actually just taking the children, harvesting them, and able to like stay young forever by consuming them. And he owns all these different islands all over, but nobody knows why. And he uses those islands to like hunt his enemies. And he turns into, you can see on the cover here, this disgusting, ferocious beast to kill like his enemies that he has on these islands and just leaves abandoned there until he feels like then killing him. So that is what he believes. And then sure enough, throughout the story in the book, you basically understand that that is who he actually is. Batman's not going to have to go after him, and we'll see what kind of storyline it all lays out. Super interesting stuff. Feels like we're at the point of the big bad here. There's reference also to Wonder Woman. Don't know if she's going to help out or if we're going to start getting some crossover there. I'd imagine that we do, considering that we're 15 issues in. But it's awesome stuff. And I'll say for me, it is also the comic of the week. So yeah, it's a great point to jump in, and let's go ahead and show off some of that artwork. So here, it's just the way that they lay out the story. And so here's like kind of like the simplistic, PR story of who Jack Napier is and his whole family line and how they built their empire. And here's where he shows up on an island, and he looks like he's doing eccentric billionaire stuff, big game hunting, things along those lines. Then we get to the darker story of like, supplying both sides, so both the allies and the Axis, and like funding both the left and the right for media and just whatever makes money. And so we get like, oh, was he actually like hunting humans? And then you start to get like the true dark story of him, consuming all these like children to keep him young, but he's still like this crazy monster. And then sure enough, boom, when you get to this splash here of like the ghoulish, goblin-y looking, insane version of the Joker that consumes this poor guy that's been stuck on this island for 30 years. And it's like, yep, that's probably who we're actually dealing with, considering it's the absolute universe. And then Batman's like, all right, I'll be in action and going after him. And then in the end here, Joker goes back to his manor and he goes down into his cave, like his version of the Batcave, which is super interesting. So yeah, cool book. Great point to jump in. Absolute Batman number 15. Gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.6. Alrighty, awesome book. The next up here is going to be Transformers, issue number 27. I think this is the 3rd edition of Robert Kirkman's, or maybe it's the 2nd one. I can tell from the cover here. Yeah, this is the 3rd book that we have going here. This book I gave a 4. Lee gave it a 4.3. I'll be honest, I actually was like kind of between a 3.5 and a 4, so I'm a little surprised that it's this high. But, it was good. It just feels like it's a much, much, much slower pace than what we were doing previously with Transformers. So the story here is Transformers are being healed up. They needed to put together, or they did put together a truce with the humans, right? So, the U.S. Army, they're basically, we can tell the difference now between Autobot and Decepticon, the good guys and the bad guys, and we realize you're the good guys. We have Energon here. Take all the Energon and heal you guys up. And all these guys that were within the Ark spaceship that crash landed on Earth, they're healing them up as much as they can. Bumblebee's in the wreckage, but they're like, Bumblebee is like, he's almost like scrap parts at this point. It's the best way to describe it. Like just shred down to the point where like even if they put him back into the original kind of Cybertronian forge, they don't think that they would be able to bring him back. But they bring back as many as they can. There's some Decepticons in there, and they're contemplating to bring them back. Optimus, he's having a heart-to-heart with Thundercracker. So if you remember from the previous issue, they raised back one of the Decepticons out of the request of one of the Decepticons who seems like he was turning over to the Autobots. They do that. That Decepticon, he's like, back into war mode, and he shows up, and he's not benevolent or humble or anything. He's like, thinks that this war is still going, so he just shoots off. But the brother that, really wanted him to bring him back, Thundercracker, he basically defects, and now he's becoming an Autobot. So a lot of this is like conversation with Optimus about seeing the beauty of this world, and that our war shouldn't spill over into Earth, and we should protect this planet, or at least get us out of here and not allow them to harm the planet. So that does happen, and Thundercracker does officially become an Autobot. Optimus wants everyone else to be healed up before he does, and then finally he gets healed, and so he's good to go. And it feels like this was just a big build of like, all right, we're going to get to the next big conflict in potentially the next issue. The last piece that you have here is back on Cybertron, where the war is still hot between Decepticons and Autobots. The Autobots, they're trying to scavenge up as much. I can't tell if it's like intel or like maybe it's just more Energon where they can, but one of the Autobots starts heading back to where the rest of the group is in the base, and Soundwave is onto him and like stalking him, and it looks like it could create some sort of potential issue down the road. So that's the story. Really feels like a setup. You would be fine if you jumped into 27, no issue there. There you got Bumblebee, where it just looks like boom, he's been down and out, and there's nothing they could do to repair him. So probably not going to be part of this story. And then we just basically have the conversations here of the different Autobots coming back together. It's good to mention that Carly and I think Spark is his name. They were trying to go out on a date, but it looks like they're going to be wrapped up in some more military stuff as well. Just like the continued conversation that they're having here. The Decepticons, they're also trying to look for more Energon, but they're only finding like this fake manufactured stuff. And then here, just like some more heart-to-hearts on like what they should do next, and like roles and positions and things like that. Optimus is now healed up, ready to go. And then here's where Soundwave at the end, Shockwave at the end is stalking, and he's going to go after the Autobots. So yeah, mostly a setup issue is the way that I would describe it. That's why I'm a little surprised on the 4.3. The artwork was fine too. It wasn't like super over the top either. So yeah, just a little surprised on the number, but nonetheless, good point to jump into. Definitely going to keep reading it. I think 28 should be more of a banger, but TBD here at this point. So Transformers number 27, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.3. Then next up, we have Minor Arcana, issue number 12. Enjoying this one. We have Teresa, who is a bit of a psychic, but she's just starting to understand her powers. I gave this one a 4. Lee gave it a 4.2. Teresa is with her friend. Her friend has a brother who's like fell into drugs in this biker gang. She goes to where the biker gang hangs out by herself, and the guy she talks to knows her brother and says that he died. So goes back to Teresa, and we're caught up in the issue now, and Teresa's like, well, I'll just do like some sort of reading. I'm sure I can find him. They go to her house to find her brother's room, and stuff's all there, and she does like a reading and has like a psychic vision. And the vision, it's a lot like the town that they're in, but she's like, oh, this looks familiar. This is a town that's a little further up the highway, basically. And so sure enough, she's in the vision, and she sees her brother there. But the weird thing is that the brother then reaches back out, basically, and like knows that she can see him through the vision, and is like, go away, and then like slams back into reality, which is interesting because that hasn't really happened before. So Teresa's a little freaked out by everything, but she like knows that the brother is now alive. And so now it's like, okay, is she going to go after him? Meanwhile, there's also this group that's like trying to stop Teresa as well. Don't get any more details. It's all kind of like a mysterious thing. And we're just going to have to see where it all kind of goes from there. But that's the biggest thing of like Teresa's powers. she's starting to get maybe a little bit more of a handle on it, but things are just seem like they're getting more and more dangerous as maybe more people are aware of it, or, there's some sort of link and connection to her friend's brother. There's something creepy going on. So still haven't gotten to the point of like, oh, there it is. There's the big reveal as to what everything is happening. So kind of TBD. But I've been enjoying all of it. Is this a good time to jump in? I don't think so. I don't really know when would be a good time, because it's like little breadcrumbs here and there as you read it throughout. It's a very slow burn intentionally, but that doesn't mean it's boring. It's just, kind of one step at a time, and that's basically how it's always been. So let's go ahead and show off some of the artwork. I guess with that, it's like not really a good time to jump into, because I can't recommend that like you're going to get a full story and context and have really any clue as to what's going on here. But the art is that watercolor paint, that kind of art style, and which it always really has been. And so a lot of the storytelling is more on the dialogue than it is through the artwork itself. But even still, the artwork's pretty cool and very unique specifically to Minor Arcana, which is cool. So yeah, been enjoying that. This is basically the brother at the end here, and you can tell that like he knows someone's either after him, or like maybe he's kept away for some fearful reason as well. We'll just have to learn more. So yeah, Minor Arcana issue number 12. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.2. Then next we have is Iron and Frost. Man, this one I was thinking about giving it a 3, but I didn't. I gave it a 3.5. Lee was not a fan at all on this book. Lee gave it a 2.8. The whole series has been bad. It's a 3-parter, so it's done here. I would have dropped it, but I was like, it's just 3 books, so let's just go ahead and just finish it out. Do not recommend, not even the time to jump in. We'll go through it as briefly as we can. The art is fine. It's nothing special. And the story here is you have Emma Frost. It's the age of Revelation. So Revelation has taken over, has released this virus, and a whole bunch of humans, they either die or they turn into mutants. Most have died, though. And so Emma Frost, she was attacked, and she was attacked at her heart, and she turned into her diamond form. But as she did, like, there's no heart in the middle. And so years and years go by, and she's freed out of the rubble. She's in her diamond form, but she can't turn back to her human form, because if she does, she'll be human with no heart and like a literal hole in her body. That's a problem. But in her diamond form, she can't read people's minds either. So she's kind of useless in the diamond form too. We run into War Machine and this girl who got turned into a mutant, and War Machine took her in as her own daughter. And then we have Iron Man, who's now become Iron King. He basically turned into this like sentient AI bot that's trying to only figure out some sort of cure for this Revelation disease. Got to the point where the AI started hallucinating. Classic, if you know, and you're paying attention to what's happening here in the world, and kills War Machine, because War Machine is turned into like sort of a mutant, and his whole thing is like he explodes, like goes like a supernova, and it was going to threaten all the research that they're doing. So War Machine's now dead. So now Emma is like trying to trick the AI into making her a heart, so that way, she can go back to her human form, then read the mind, be able to then stop, Iron King from taking over, and then get Tony Stark back. But that's not really what ends up happening. It's just a big fight that takes place between the girl, who was like, kind of the adopted daughter of War Machine, and Iron King. They start fighting back and forth. Even Emma Frost is caught up in the crossfire, and she gets hit by a blast. But in her diamond form, she should have been fine, but like he's hitting with something harder, and she realizes that something is in his, kind of like his energy little source thing, the reactor that he has in his chest. And it's not his normal reactor. You have Firestar, which is one of the mutants, shrunk down from pin particles and used as like an internal sun, used as his reactor. And so she's getting blasted with like the power of a sun, basically. And so she's not able to stop him. What she does is she wears War Machine's suit, and it's a version of Tony as the AI. And he talks through the whole protocol of like, here's what we can do. We basically got to go back in time, and we can do that with all the resources that are here. But we need to like kind of convince Iron King to do that. And so while all that discussion happens, Iron King decides like, you know what? nothing can be done and saved here. We gotta just blow everything up, is what he decides. And we're like, well, we can't do that. So Emma Frost takes him. She's in like the iron suit and flies up into space with Iron King. And so when she does, she's like, okay, we're either gonna blow up here, or somehow I can get to Tony Stark, who's in the Iron King suit, and get him to snap out of it, stop the detonation for a second, and then when he does that, can switch to the detonation now being like going back in time. That's what the story alludes to, and that's basically what they do. They didn't do a great job of explaining it, but that's basically what they have to do. So Emma goes up there, and she's in her diamond form, so she changes to her human form, right? And now the AI in Iron King is like analyzing that's person is about to die. So he snaps out of it for like a split second, and you get a bit of Tony, but then the AI overrides. But it was just enough time from detonating and exploding, it's now detonating and doing the time machine. So the time machine goes off, and then it's all reverted back in 10 years ago, before any of the Revelation stuff took place. So that's the story. Convoluted, insane, a lot of stuff packed into this issue, and it wasn't really explained super well. It was me like having to read between the lines. So that's like the big issue, but very action focused, so that part is good. I think that's part of the reason I gave it a 3.5. But the story is it's a bunch of gobbledygook, so keep that in mind. Again, I don't recommend it, but at least you can see some of the artwork here, and then make the decision for yourself. So yeah, that is Iron and Frost issue number 3. Again, I gave it a 3.5. League gave it a 2.8. Alrighty, then we got Ultimate Spider-Man number 23. This was in the running for being comic of the week, but we got a lot of stuff that's kind of going on here, and it just seems like this was like Act 1 of the conclusion, and then maybe 24 is going to be Act 2. I actually think, hold on here, I think at the end it says, yes, to be concluded. So this one's about to be all wrapped up, which makes sense as we head into Ultimate Endgame. So for this one, I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.2. I think the book itself was pretty good. We have like a bunch of stuff that's happening here. So I'll go in like no particular order because it doesn't necessarily matter for the story. But we have J. Jonah Jameson and Uncle Ben. They've teamed up together, and they are releasing a story about Fisk and how he is controlling this version, or, all of New York, but it all leads up to the Maker, similar to Ultimate Wolverine on the Eurasian side. But New York, it's all like this big thing, all controlled by the Maker. So they do that in like 30-second intervals. So that's one piece. The other piece you have is the Green Goblin and Mysterio. And remember, Mysterio was Gwen Stacy and 4 other people. They like kind of molded into one almost like necromancy looking Mysterio now, so it's just one of them split among like 5 people. So every time she says something, you like see it repeated like 5 times. It's kind of creepy and weird. But they meet up with Captain Britain, and Captain Britain is one of the lieutenants of the Maker, and he seems like maybe he's defecting or something along those lines. We just don't get much detail there. So some sort of deal is trying to be struck there. Then you get Richard Parker, who's Peter's son, and Black Cat. They are trying to sneak into Fisk Tower in order to, they gotta like install something to like destroy the network. So that happens. Then you have Peter trying to go and save Richard because he went off and is doing this with Black Cat. And he runs into Fisk and Mr. Negative, who are fighting each other basically to have control of the whole region. Fisk and Mr. Negative stop, and they of course end up starting to fight Spider-Man. The fight goes on. It looks like they're going to have the advantage. We get towards the end, and Spider-Man's like, all right, who's ready for round 2? And then that is the cliffhanger there. So that's the story. It's good. It's funny in this moment. I think Hickman makes a funny little jab at himself for, going heavy on the exposition and the word count as well, which I caught and I thought was pretty hilarious that was mentioned in there, because he's certainly guilty of that. But it's all well written too, and like as you're reading through it, it flows all very nicely. So that is fine as well. But yeah, that's the story that gets you all caught up here. We'll see how it all basically concludes in the end. I'll go ahead and show off the artwork. Artwork is great. no issue there. Been enjoying that a lot. Here's where Spider-Man, Mr. Negative, and Fisk all meet up, and the fight is on there. Let's see if we can get to the point. We got Mysterio, Captain Britain, and the Green Goblin. And then we have... there's a point here where we have the kids as well. Where did I see that? I promise they're in here. Here we go. With Richard, Black Cat, trying to sneak through Fisk's tower, but they're stopped as well. So that is Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 23. Again, I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.2. Definitely not the one to jump into, as you got one away here. Tough to say when to jump into, because you got to go quite a ways back at this point. Maybe you got to look at the volume at this point. I really can't give a good number. So when the trades start coming out, maybe look into those. I'm sure volume 1 is already out. Actually, I know it already is. But this would probably be volume 4 at this point, if I had to guess. If you're going to break it up into 6 or 7 issues, maybe they do it in 5s. So yeah, just keep your eye out for it. But yeah, Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 23. Then next is an independent book, The Darkness, issue number 1. So this is going to be the last one for the pulls of this week. It was an interesting book. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.2. I'm not mad at the 4.2. I'm just surprised Lee gave it a 4.2. Definitely more on the Gooner side of things. Straight up. Mature book, too. It's cursing left, right, and center. So adult book, and that's what they're going for here. What we have is a story of a guy who grew up as an orphan. He was adopted by a crime family, and he is an assassin, effectively. Turns 21, and he is a big-time womanizer, to the nth degree. Different woman every night type of dude, and they show plenty of stuff throughout this. You actually don't have, I think, any nudity in it, but, plenty suggestive scenes and things like that. On his 21st birthday, he's cursed somehow to where he is the leader of the darkness. But in this universe, the dark is actually good and the good is actually evil. And so it looks like there's this war he's caught up in. He gets his powers. He summons a whole bunch of these demons. They fight off a whole bunch of these angel-looking things. But he doesn't realize what happens. He actually thinks it's kind of a dream. He wakes up the next morning, goes to this bar that he frequents all the time. And the head of all the good angel people shows up and seems like she may kill him or maybe doesn't, but gives this big old threat. Then this other guy shows up and is like, hey, you can't be around her. She's going to try to kill you. You need to join up with me. She leaves as kind of a warning to watch her back. And then the other guy leaves as well. So our main character's he doesn't really know what to do. And then when he heads back to his home, finds out that, his whole crime family, they've all been hurt and injured from the Russians who are trying to attack. And then on top of that, all the goblins that he summoned before, they're all staring at him and they're waiting for his command type deal. So interesting setup. We'll see how it goes. It looks like almost an isekai in a way, because it's now suddenly you have all these different powers. Usually isekai in the anime world refers to dying and then ending up in a different world, but it has, it's kind of pulling on a similar string and thread. So we'll see how that all goes. Show off some of the artwork. Again, no actual nudity in here, but a lot of suggestive stuff. So hopefully YouTube doesn't get too crazy, but it is Gooner as Gooner can be. So just kind of keep that in mind. A lot of flesh, a lot of curves, a lot of Rob Liefeld style of drawing, to be honest with you. I wonder, is he on it? No, he's not. It looks like Ed Beans is the name of the guy. Yeah. So that's who's on the artwork. But it's interesting enough. I'll definitely continue it. Obviously, it's a number 1, so it's a good one to jump into. You'd be totally fine there. But it's very Liefeld in nature. So keep that in mind, too. The writing is better, though. All right, next up, into the backlogs. We're going to go Batman and Robin, issue number 19 here. So the setup for this one is we had the whole kind of conversation, and I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.1. The whole setup and conversation here with Batman and Robin wants to leave once Memento is caught, and he wants to be out of there. So Batman is like, Robin's got to be corrupted some way, somehow. He's having a conversation with Oracle, and he thinks it's Dr. Bashar. And Dr. Bashar, like, works in the actual hospital, and Robin's been helping out there, and he's been feeling guilty about this girl who got hurt in the explosion a couple of issues back. But Batman thinks that the doctor who's taken interest into Robin is actually some sort of agent of Memento, or an agent in general, and convincing Robin to quit. And so after Batman and Robin are on patrol for a little bit, they meet up back at their house and starting to have a conversation on, what they talked about previously just doesn't really go anywhere. And Robin's like, I'm late. I got to go to the hospital. And Batman puts a tracker or a tracer on his shoe, and basically he was lying the whole time about just like being affectionate just to put a tracker on him. And Oracle's like, if he finds this, like, you're only making things worse for yourself, right? So sure enough, Robin's doing his shift, and he does notice the tracker. It's like, of course it has to be Bruce that put it on him. But when that happens, Memento then attacks and strikes. And so they were heading down into some sort of basement. There's an explosion that happens. Batman races across the city. He gets there, but when he does, Bashar is actually dead. Robin's nowhere to be found, and Batman presumes that Memento took on the identity of Bashar, but maybe Robin doesn't know about it, so we'll have to see. So yeah, insane kind of twist in the story. We'll see where it all goes. Show off some of the artwork. A lot of it is like kind of the conversational piece, so here's where they're actually out on patrol, but then when they head back to the home, this is where he puts that tracker onto the foot of Robin. So now we're at the hospital here with Bashar and Robin talking, and you could tell like this guy is just normal. It's just Batman's being a little extra paranoid for no reason. Memento shows up, and when he does, Batman tries to get there as quickly as he possibly can, but he is too late. Bashar is like dead. You can kind of see it here. There's a little bit of a glare, but his body is laying on the elevator floor, and believes that now Memento has taken over Bashar's body, and now Batman has to figure out where Robin is. So yeah, enjoying the arc. Only got a couple more left because I think I stopped pulling these around issue number 22, so I think I got just 3 more left to go here. But yeah, it's been good thus far. So Batman and Robin issue number 19. If you are interested in this point with Memento, we're on part 6, so keep that in mind. You're going to want to go 6 back from here before you actually go ahead and jump in. But I've been enjoying Memento a lot. It's been good stuff. Then next up here we have Saga. This is going to be issue number 36. This cover, I'm loving this one too. If you can see it on the video, you basically have the Will, who is a assassin, with his trusty little sidekick dog. They're on like some sort of, ledge area on the island where this big wave is like crashing into it. It just looks super picturesque and pretty dope. For this issue here, we're at the point now where Hazel was trying to escape that refugee camp, and she was going to go with her teacher in one of her like boxes of like art materials, and Marco, her father, has teleported from the ship and arrived at the detention center. So I thought for sure he was going to arrive and she was already going to be gone, but the way that they wrote it was even better. The teacher was about to sneak out with the box with the guard who never checks, and of course this time she checks because there's like some sort of crazy lockdown thing that's going on. And so when she's like, oh, let me just go and head back to the room, and then the guard is like not taking any mess and is like pulls out the gun, is like, you drop the box right now. And so sure enough, when she shows up, the other inmates see, and they're in on this too, trying to get Hazel out of there. And so they knock into the guard, and then the guard is like completely knocked out. And so it seems like, okay, things are gonna go really south here. But then Marco then shows up, and he turns, and Hazel comes out of the box. Hazel turns, she sees her father, so they are reunited and embraced, and everything's good to go. So now Marco's like, okay, great, let's get back to the ship with Hazel. And when she's about to go, his mother's there too, Hazel's grandmother. And the mother's like, I'm staying. These are my people. You guys go fight your fight, whatever you got to do. But since losing, your father, my husband, this is where I feel like I'm needed. Hazel's now in good hands with you, and go ahead. So the portal spell that he has only allows one person to go back. So the person that goes back is the other one that's been helping out with Hazel in the detention center. So not the teacher, but like the other horned lady. So she decides to jump through the portal. She heads back. You got Prince Robot there. You got Alana there. And so at first it's like this big old, kind of was it like a Mexican standoff or whatever, of people trying to fight each other. Marco's able to cool everyone's head. And when he does, the horned person is like, well, not like I was going to do anything. I can smell it on you, Alana, like you're pregnant. And Alana's like, what? She's like, yeah, you're with child. And then it shows like both Alana and Marco of like, holy shit, we're pregnant now with a second kid in this intergalactic war where it's like insane that these two are together and that they have a child, and now they're potentially going to have a second child. So that's nuts. So that's one part of the story. The other part is everything that's happened on the island with the Will, Prince Robot's child, and then the seal and the walrus. So seal and the walrus, they try to defend as much as they can against the Will. The seal cuts off the hand of the Will, and then the Will fights back. I'm trying to remember, did he kill them or not? And I wouldn't be surprised if he did, because this book will do shit like that, where they'll just kill people for no reason whatsoever. And I just want to double check if he actually did, because I feel like he just knocked him off. The walrus, but again, like you get a lot of shock value in this stuff. Oh, yeah, that's what it was. So he shot some darts at the walrus, but like, oh, he's fine. He's just unconscious for now. That's why they cut off the fingers, and then the Will just punches him in the face. Okay, so he's fine. And then the Will turns his attention then to Prince Robot's son, and he's about to kill him. And so before he kills him, remember the Will's like on a whole bunch of drugs. He sees his old deceased girlfriend, who's like the one that's egging him on. Then, rather than seeing her, he sees his sister. His sister is also dead, and her sister is like a crazy bounty hunter as well, but she talks him off the ledge, and this is all happening within his mind, of like, hey, killing this kid's not going to do anything. You're just going to have a whole bunch of guilt and shame afterwards after you come out of this like drug bender that you're basically on right now. And so he agrees with her in his head and decides to leave Prince Robot's child alone, and then just kind of walks away. And with that, the reporters, they also are then kind of freed, so they kind of go their own separate way as well. So we'll see in the next, this is the end of the volume. In the next issue, I wonder, is everyone then going to head back? They get to Prince Robot's son, they run into the Will, and then a big old fight ensues. Not entirely sure, but I'm kind of interested as to where it all goes. But yeah, that is it for volume 6. So we're going to head into volume 7 after this. I think it's 12 volumes in total at this point. So literally just finished the halfway point of the entire saga as we kind of continue on. So good stuff here. This issue, I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.6. And then we get to the final book of the episode. We have Nice House on the Lake, issue number 10. This one I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.6. Nice House on the Lake continues to crush it. I'll say this issue was extraordinarily predictable as to what was going to happen, and it did happen. So I wasn't surprised after reading the first couple pages of like, I bet this is how it's going to go, and that is how it went. So that's a little unfortunate in that sense, but the way that you get there is good, and it builds up the suspense and the drama, and it's like, I think it's going to happen, and it does. So if you'll recall with these people that are locked on this island, they're immortal. And so now they're at the stage in this issue where they were earlier in like issue 3 or 4 or whatever it was, where they start trying to kill one another with the guns that are in the house. So they start like shooting each other because the bullets are just going to bounce off and they're just going to heal. But Walter is backstage, if you will, with Nora. Walter, of course, is the alien. Nora is the one that he's like bouncing ideas off with. And Walter is showing Nora the controls. And it doesn't look like it. It's very alien-y in the sense of like it's all these different weird touchscreen things. But what he can do and manipulate with the environment and how it looks and the weather. And then there's also buttons that can then change people's memories. There are buttons that can change the mortality as well. So he's explaining all this stuff to Nora as well. So while he does that, remember Ryan, she snuck in. So Ryan is a painter. She snuck in. She's last minute. She's in this group. She's almost like not really supposed to be part of it. And we get that explanation in this issue that there are only supposed to be 10 people. There's supposed to be one in each discipline. One's a doctor, one's a news reporter, one's an artist, one's this, one's that. And so you have the painter who's an artist, and then Ryan's an artist as well. So it's a duplicate. And Walter reveals of like the supervisors or the superiors are not going to be happy about that. So Walter like kind of has to figure out what the hell he's going to do, i.e. probably kill one of them is more than likely what's going to happen. And Ryan's doing the math in her head of like, I'm the newest one here. The painter's been his friend forever. Which one do you think is going to go? So Nora and Walter, they leave. And when they leave, Ryan is still in there, but Walter's none the wiser. Ryan starts messing with all the controls. And the first thing she does is returns all the memories. And literally all the memories. So when they first got there, issue number 1, they totally forgot how they got there. Then once this painter is revealed of who he is, and like, here's the plan of how we can do that, Walter wiped all that memory, and now he's living among all of them, except Nora's the one that now knows of some of the stuff that's happened. But when they reveal the full memory, everyone remembers everything. They got these like massive nosebleeds. And then on top of that, Nora remembers that she's the one that actually set up the controls in the first place and was the one of like, hey, here's how like we can set up this whole scenery. So even now, Walter continues to lie and hasn't like given the whole story even to Nora at this point. So it's like, dude, like how deep does this shit like actually go type deal? So she screams about that. And then Ryan, as they're shooting each other, changes out the mortality thing. And then sure enough, one of them shoots the bullets and, you know, they get shot, and it's like it pans out and just looks at the, you know, kind of picturesque scene. And we don't know if they died or not, but someone's probably going to die, the way that this entire book has been going. And that was like kind of the obvious thing of like, oh, they have the guns. Here's going to be the controls for the morality. Yep, it's the controls for the morality. They shoot one person as Ryan turns down the controls, and now they're potentially dead. So we'll see. So yeah, continues to be an awesome book. Continues to have all this shock value. Continues to be insane. So I recommend it. Start with volume 1. You're going to immediately know whether or not you're hooked into it. It's kind of impossible not to be honest with you. It's such a thriller. But if you get it from issue number 1, you're just going to keep going. It's just excellent stuff. Can't wait to read the next one for the Omega as well. I'm loving this book. I'm loving the series so much. And James Tynion, of course, I just jive with him tremendously. So let's go ahead, flip to, I feel like I didn't go through some of the artwork on Saga. I'm sorry. When I was flipping through it, I think in my head I actually went through that. But, you know, Saga. It's basically the same stuff that you've been looking at, too. So, in case those folks want to see that real quick, so you can go ahead and take a look at some of that artwork. It's all basically the same that you've been used to seeing. Here's where those hands are cut off. And then here is where they get reunited, which was a nice, sweet moment. And back on the ship, I should probably show the reveal of the pregnancy. Sorry about that. I just was like, you know what? Something feels off here. But back to the nice house on the lake. So, for this issue, let's make sure I get to the right one so I'm not spoiling anything. Here we go. So, here is, where they're testing out bullets on everyone. You have all the controls, as Walter mentioned, everything that's with Nora, and they can explain all the different controls and exactly how they work. And then, boom, someone is shot towards the end here, and it's just looking out of like, oh shit, are they actually dead? Are they not? It's good stuff. Good stuff. So yeah, that is Nice House on the Lake, issue number 10. I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.6. I think for this, we only have 2 more in this. Let's see, is the trade show up here? No, of course it does not. Yeah, 2 more. Yeah, issue 11 and issue 12 in this particular volume. And then we're going to do Nice House by the Sea. So let's recap everything really quickly of the 10 books that we reviewed. We had Ultimate Wolverine, issue number 12. We have Wolverine freeing Jean Grey, taking out Colossus as well. Absolute Batman, issue number 15. We have the origin story of the Joker in the Absolute Universe. Transformers issue number 27, all the Autobots getting healed up. Thundercracker defecting from the Decepticons, going to the Autobots. Minor Arcana issue number 12. In this one, Teresa reveals that the brother is actually alive, but the brother realizes that Teresa is like having visions of her. Then we have Iron and Frost issue number 3, the conclusion here, and resetting the time on the Revelation disease. Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 23, kind of the part 1 of the big fight between everyone, and Spider-Man, Fisk, and Mr. Negative continuing to go after it. And that'll continue in 24. The Darkness, the start of a new story. We got a guy who seems like he's the ruler of the darkness and now is going to have to fight off the light. Batman and Robin issue number 19. At the hospital, a big explosion. Dr. Bashar is down. Robin's missing. So what's Batman going to do? Saga issue number 36. Hazel reunited with her parents finally. And then Alana is now pregnant. And then Nice House on the Lake issue number 10. We got the reveal of all the controls. Everyone's got their memories back. And one of the folks is shot in the belly. So, when I say shot in the belly, who knows? They could be shot in the face. It doesn't show. But they're hurt, so that's not good. So those are the books. Let's see. Now we can go into the pulls for next week. Locked and loaded with 8 books in total for next week, which is cool. I think this is going to be the last. Actually, I don't think that's true at all. I think the week after that is 11. Yeah, 11. And then it's the week in between on New Year's Eve, where it's a small one, where it's just 3. But for next week, we have Absolute Flash issue number 10, The Avengers number 33, Exquisite Corpses issue number 8, G.I. Joe number 16. G.I. Joe's been coming out pretty quick succession here. I've just noticed that. The Power Fantasy issue number 14, Superman the Kryptonite Spectrum number 5, World Tree number 17. Looking forward to getting back to that. And then Youngblood Mass Market Edition issue number 2. So that's like the continuation through me and some comic history, to be honest with you. So yeah, those are the books. Looking forward to it. Not sure when I'm going to be able to get them. I don't know if I'll be able to read all 8 of them before like the next Saturday issue. So we'll have to see. May have to split, do like half for Saturday, half for the Omega. That actually might work out pretty nicely, 4 and 4. But yeah, with that, I will be doing an Omega for this week. I don't see why I wouldn't be doing that. That's going to be complete backlogs. And I'll let you know what the plan is going to be then for Saturday. And then as we head in towards Christmas and New Year's, there's going to be some kind of change and variation there because I'm just not going to be home in between Christmas and New Year's. So maybe not an Omega, but maybe just Saturday issues. So I'll just keep you guys aware of what all is happening there. But yeah, I think we are good to go. I think we'll close it out. Thank you so very much for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. Look down in the description below where you can follow the show on the social media channels. Obviously, the show itself is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and then the video version is on YouTube. And if you'd like to support the show, we have a channel for that. Go to buymeacoffee.com/SaturdayMorningReview. That is where you can toss a couple bucks as like a tip. All proceeds would basically go towards buying some more comics. And, you know, anything that you can donate is much appreciated. So thanks again for tuning in. I so greatly appreciate it. And I will see you guys in the next one.
Go, 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 go.
This has been a DMW production. Thanks for stopping by.